Welcome to Sikhcast, brought to you by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.
I want to begin by asking you, what can one individual achieve? How can a single person's actions have huge implications on the world around them? I'm sure you can think of world leaders, right? Those that are in a position where they get to make those decisions that fundamentally change our way of life around us. Today we have politicians surrounded by politicians that collectively work together, or not, to architect the changes that we see. It's not that the individual doesn't play a factor, it's that many individuals do. But there was a time when it wasn't so complex, and in fact, one individual could make huge changes. They could do things that would make life, objectively speaking, a lot better for those around them, to turn a wheel of progress, for better living standards, and so on. But there are also those that could inflict a lot of human misery with just a simple order or command. Today we're going to be discussing those individuals. And there's one in particular that I want to share with you. His name was Sultan al-Qam Sardar Jassa Singh Ahluwalia. You're listening to a special episode on the Sikhcast of Sikh History, and I'll be your host today, Sean Holden. Sardar Jassa Singh Ahluwalia is looked upon as a hero in history and one of the early precursors that helped establish the Sikh Empire. But I also believe that many of the principles and skills he developed during his life are ones we could observe today and take a grain of wisdom from and carry forward in our day-to-day lives. Now, I will not be doing most of the talking today. Instead, I've brought in a sort of expert on Jassa Singh Ahluwalia's life.
For joining me, Prithpal, for another session of Sikh History.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be back with you.
Prithpal Singh joins me and opens us up with the importance our central character has had as a historical figure. And it'll also set the stage of the period of time we'll be going through and how it relates to this particular period of Sikh history.
What does his, or why does his name hold such importance within Sikh culture, in your opinion?
Because he came up in this world with nothing. He had absolutely nothing, but because his mother has had the insight of that, even when you have nothing, you are not going to resort to doing the wrong thing in life. So from day one, he had such great principles that he had integrated into his lifestyle. I mean, the guy could do no wrong. I mean, there are examples where he took losses on the personal end to keep the community together, and that's probably the biggest reason why Sikhs hold him in such with such devotion, and because of that, he's called Guru Kalal, that perfection's beloved. It's difficult to be number one, and when you're being hunted down, it's difficult to survive. But once you have survived, and you have actually political power, power tends to corrupt, and this is a time everybody wants piece of their pie. But this guy, he took a smaller portion of his pie and he gave it to others, because he had higher ideals. That's why I think Sikhs hold him in a very, very close to their hearts.
So let's get into a little bit of the setting of this time. What's going on in the world at this time, in Punjab, in India, and just around the globe in general, so people can have a frame of reference.
So this is the early 18th century. Europe has basically conquered the world, or they're in the process, going east and west. They're just making discoveries. In India, the East India Company is trying to make gains in southern or eastern parts and slowly work up towards northern part of Punjab. In Punjab itself, the Mughal Empire is very strong. That dynasty started with Babur at the time of Guru Nanak. They're very fascinating because they're very sort of high IQ level, right? They have appreciation for different things. But at the end of the day, a political leader wants to retain power, and they will destroy anything that stands in their way, right? That's like a parallel structure. So the gurus were perceived threat by most of the Mughal rulers, not all, because there's a parallel power structure that's been created, and it's getting traction. That Aurangzeb, the 10th, probably the strongest, one might argue, Mughal emperor, he considered Sikhs, and especially Guru Gobind Singh, a threat. But what happens is, Aurangzeb, towards the end of his life, his mind changes about Guru Gobind Singh, because Guru Gobind Singh wrote him a letter where after reading that letter, Aurangzeb actually realizes that it shakes him, actually. And he writes him back that I would like to meet you. I would like forgiveness. But what happened is, Aurangzeb is the emperor, but the Guru Gobind Padsha, his younger two sons were tortured to death by the governor of Sirhind, which is a town in Punjab. That governor realizes that the emperor Aurangzeb and Guru Gobind Singh are getting a little friendly. So he's worried about himself, because he's the one who ordered the killings of the Guru Gobind Singh's younger sons. So he sends these two assassins to kill Guru Gobind Padsha, and that's how it went down. Once Aurangzeb dies, there's a fight between amongst his sons, who's going to be the next emperor. But soon after that, Guru Gobind Padsha is assassinated. So and then Bahadur Shah basically unleashes this policy of genocide against the Sikhs, and then he dies just a couple of years later. And then Farrukhsir emperor, he's even worse, and it just continues. Jassa Singh Ahluwalia was born in 1718 in a place called Alu, which is near in central part of Punjab, now falls on the Pakistani side near Lahore. There's boundaries on Sikh's head. It's, shoot to kill. You get money if you bring back Sikh's head. Those are the times, basically. There are very few Sikhs, and they're living in jungles or in small towns and vicinities. So he's born into that sort of environment, and basically his father dies when he's 4 years old. So he's brought up by his mother, who knew how to read Gurmukhi, which is the script, and she would do kirtan, singing religious hymns. So again, this is the time Sikhs are in jungles running for their lives. So whenever there was an opportunity, she would hear, oh, Khalsa is camped here. She would go and, sing Kirtan. And the Khalsa would love it, because most of these guys probably didn't know Kirtan. They were fighting, So for them, it was a great opportunity, and they didn't quite have the apps on their iPhone back then to listen to whenever they wanted to. So it was a great opportunity for them to listen to Kirtan, and she would carry, Ratan Singh Pangu writes that in her gatra. Gatra is a strap around your waist or your shoulder, where you typically carry a kirpan, a sword, and she would carry a pothi, a small writings, or you can say Gurbani, of religious hymns. That's how much she held Gurbani, or the Guru's teachings, near and dear to her. So, and as he got older, she would take him with. So he learned Kirtan from her. He learned Gurmukhi from her. He learned how to serve the community through her. And when his father died when he was 4 years old, she actually moved to Delhi, the capital of India, believe it or not, because there was more, genocidal campaigns happening in Punjab than in the capital. Why the capital, you might be wondering? Because wife of Guru Gobind Singh, Mata Sundari, was in capital doing service. And there he got to know the wife of Guru Gobind Singh, who raised him like her own son. And they had a very loving relationship. One beautiful thing that happens to him in New Delhi is, while he's with Mata Sundari, he gets great education, because you are in the capital. There, informally institutions are there. He went to mosque almost daily. And you might be wondering, what is a Sikh going to the mosque? Okay. Well, he's going there to learn Persian because that is the language of the learned. So he was learning Persian, he learned Urdu, he got to learn what's Hindustani, what today would be called Hindi. Being in the presence of Mata Sundari and in the capital really gave him the education framework he needed, which became pivotal later on in his life. So this was a great thing, I think, for the first 11 years of his life. If you can only imagine, you lived first 4 years, you were hunted, and all of a sudden your father dies, and all you have is your mother, and she makes a move to come to New Delhi. You spoke some Punjabi, and all of a sudden now you're learning Hindi and Persian, and you're going to mosque. I mean, it really gave him sort of a colorful, like a rainbow of experiences early on in his life. I think it's very evident why he was so accepting as an individual, why he valued diversity, yet was very firm in his religious beliefs. But his uncle, who's his mother's brother, wants him to come to Punjab, and mother sort of resists, but finally she caves in, and she seeks the blessing of Mata Sundari, the wife of Guru Gobind Singh, and she gifts him before he leaves for Punjab. She gifts him a sword. She gives him a dastar, a turban. I mean, this is there are a lot of symbolism here, but there's a message too. When we I guess I would call out to me as a parent. When my child turned of age, am I going to give him an iPhone? Or am I going to give him something that it's going to have a higher level of meaning, right? And like the turban, that's the identity, and the poti, where the religious writings are, always keep them with you. So to me, it's a great sort of symbolic gesture that the gifts, I think, at the end of the day, tell you about what's more important in life. So when he goes to Punjab, again, Sikhs are hunted. So his mother she hears one day that Kapoor Singh, who's one of the leaders, of the Sikhs, they have assembled, and they go there, and he does kirtan with his mother. And the Sikhs, the Singhs who are taking a break from fighting, they're just amazed listening to this guy who's like 12 years old doing this awesome kirtan. Kapoor Singh, at that time, he just approaches the mother and has a conversation and with her brother that your son is very gifted, and he needs to come and serve the Panth. And from then on, Jassa Singh becomes under the mentorship of Kapoor Singh. But I want to tell you why Kapoor Singh picked him. Kapoor Singh picked him on the basis of this guy does excellent kirtan. Okay, he's 12 years old. He's doing kirtan. He's drenched in the Guru's teachings. So he probably saw some qualities that are rare in a child who can use mentorship. On top of that, he's very well educated. And that's the message for me, that doesn't matter what you do, but be damn good at it. I mean, put your 100% in there. Somebody with the right lens will appreciate what you have to offer, and you will be given opportunity to utilize your talent and for the rest of the world. And that's what happened to him. Kapoor Singh recognized that talent, and he tells him that you come and join him in Khalsa. And the first thing Kapoor Singh tells him to do is go feed the horses.
So let's get into Kapur Singh a little bit more, just so for maybe those who are maybe listening to the podcast and aren't quite as familiar with him. Could you describe just who Kapur Singh is at this point in his life?
Yeah, so Kapoor Singh is one of the leaders. Again, the Sikhs are sort of, because they're hunted, there's no central. They're usually in small groups throughout Punjab, attacking, surviving mode, guerrilla warfare. So Kapoor Singh is leader of for one of those small group. He is held in high regard by the people who follow him. This when he sees him, this is like 1729. And Kapoor Singh eventually becomes Nawab in 1736. Like 7 years later, he becomes the leader of the Sikh nation. 7 years later, back in those days, they classified Sikhs, the historical text, Sikhs into two portions. One who are Singhs. Singhs that if it's somebody they use the word Singh, that means they're fighting for your life and others' lives. Okay, you're living the jungles, and then there were few also, they call them the Gurmukh Singhs. That means those are the people, they might be doing agriculture or business, but they're also committed Sikhs. They're just not fighting on the battlefield. So they're playing an important role. These are the guys who are delivering messages and doing kirtan and providing food and that sort of things. So Kapoor Singh by no means a rich guy. He's one of the Singhs who are actually battling out there, and he has a small group he's leading.
What does Jassa Singh's new mentor get him up to with the next few years of his life?
So he tells him, the first thing he tells him to do is go feed the horses. But he gets discouraged at time because he's in Punjab. His language is not Punjabi he's speaking. He's actually speaking Hindustani or current day, Hindi. So he's made fun of. They called him Humko Tumko. That's like Punjabis make fun of somebody who speaks Hindi. And he gets discouraged. And he goes to Kapoor Singh, and Kapoor Singh, he gives him words of wisdom that you're more than your language, and you know multiple languages. You have more to offer. So look beyond. Don't be discouraged by these remarks. You have the potential to be greater than what somebody labels you. And I think from then on, he gets very focused, and he learns weaponry. He learns horse riding, military training. He continues to learn kirtan. He doesn't give that up, by the way. He continues to do that, but he learns basically art of war and guerrilla warfare. 1729 is when he came under mentorship. So his next decade or two is all about training. He's participating in Sikh struggle against the state, which means there's foreign invaders like Nader Shah from Persia. He's fighting guerrilla warfare. You can't go head on with these guys. So it's like the American Revolution, right, against the British. You can't go against the infantry, man. You just can't. I mean, they got the numbers. So you take out the captains. You do guerrilla warfare. And then you run away. You do these skirmishes, and you run away into the forest. That's what's happening. And in doing that, he's learning the tactics from Kapoor Singh. He's learning how to be fair at the same time, meaning that if they loot a treasure, they don't use it for themselves. They give it away to poor people. They buy more weapons from that. This is the sort of training he gets, which serves him very well for the remainder of his life. The lifestyle that the gurus gifted the Sikhs is of saint soldiers. You're always saint first and soldier second. You always need to have weapons with you. If you don't have weapons, then how are you going to defend yourself? So you're always a soldier, but you're a saint first. And the reason for being saint first is need to have direction, guidance, how to utilize that sword, or maybe not utilize it at all. So that is the spirit under a Sikh operates. That's why I think when the guidance was there, the Sikhs were clear in their mind that even when they got treasure, how to utilize that treasure, and it's very much indicative of their uniform they wore, or the sort of, you don't find any jewelry, any description of a Sikh soldier or anything like that. They carried just a spear, a gun, and a shield with them when they went, and they had a kashera, which is boxer shorts, when they went in the battle. And so it's very minimal. There's no wealth or worldly treasure. There's your treasure, basically, the how Sikhs operated, was the gift of these principles, those teachings that the gurus have given you, which to help you how to operate in this world.
What were some of, like, what was a moment or story that became a major point when he was working with this group?
Yeah, I think when you have that, the lesser Holocaust, the Chota Kalukara, in 1746, it was ordered by Yahya Khan and implemented by Lakhpat Rai, where basically killed about 15,000 Sikhs, about 10,000 of them on the battlefield, and then the rest of them they captured as they went through towns day after day, and have them tortured to death. And it was a shock to the Sikhs and to the world that how can this happen so fast. Jassa Singh is, under still mentorship of Kapoor Singh, Nawab Kapoor Singh, and he responds that we're not going to just sit back and relax, and we're going to respond. In the following year, in 1747, Jassa Singh, Kapoor Singh, along with Tara Singh, who's also one of the captains, you can say, they take control of Amritsar by defeating Salabat Khan, and he earned the respect of his other fellow captains, and by doing that, and to the point where, Ahmad Shah Durrani, who's also called Abdali, in 1748, he invades Punjab, and Jassa Singh and other captains, you can say, they cause him harassment, because his whole idea is, I'm going to come here, I'm going to beat up on people, I'm going to, take all the treasures back to Afghanistan, and including slaves. In 1748, as the Sikhs have not just survived this Holocaust 2 years earlier, but they've grown in numbers because they're so many inspired. They've inspired others to become Sikhs. The Sikh population has increased. So what Kapoor Singh does is, Nawab Kapoor Singh, he divides the Sikh nation into 11 missals. Okay, the missal is a word that means groups. There's a Dal Khalsa called, which means like a local Sikh parliament, and the decision is made that there will be creation of 11 missals, 12 if you include the other one. The 12th missal is called Fulkiyan. They have a separate origin. Jassa Singh Ahluwalia becomes the missaldar, the leader, formally becomes the leader of this particular missal called the Ahluwalia missals. So you can say 1748 is the year when he's officially recognized by the Panth and becomes the leader of one of the missals.
You've been listening to a special episode of the Sikhcast. Joining me today was Pritpal Singh, sharing the early life of Jassa Singh Ahluwalia. Now, of course, this isn't the end of our story. It, in many ways, is only the beginning. But I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. From what we've heard, there's been a massive event that has happened to the Sikhs. Something that will crucially shift how the next chapter of our story will go. But I want us to reflect. How will this one moment shape a whole society going forward? And I mean not just the ones present at the Chotu Galugara, but those who identify as Sikhs at the time that weren't there. Many at this point are used to living with some kind of fear or tension, but things have just reached a whole other level, hasn't it? In moments like these, what will the collective remember? What will it do in response to this new reality? We started our episode today talking about the individual. Well, what will happen when things start to change? When it's not just about the individual, but the whole. On the next Sikh History. Thank you for listening.
You are listening to SikhCast by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.